here we go. NHL Today, right here on SportsGrid. Mike Carver here with you. Of course, our weekly look around the National Hockey League, which, of course, their 2024-2025 season has come to a close. We thought for weeks that this Friday, I had this penciled in for weeks. Game 7 on a Friday night for the Stanley Cup. Unfortunately, not the case, as the Panthers finished off the Oilers earlier this week in 6 games, back-to-back cups for the Florida Panthers. They have not slept in the last 72 hours as they continue to drag the cup all around the Fort Lauderdale, Sunrise area, elbow room, clubs, anywhere you can imagine. The Panthers, they've got about 6 dents in the thing as well by now. But when you win, to the victor go the spoils. So we'll do a little recap today. Start getting you set because the offseason is already in motion. There's no doubt about that. Tom Vecchio is with us today. George Kurtz later on as well, as I'm going to start getting him riled up about the Islanders having the first pick in the draft next Friday. But we start things off with Tom Vecchio here, of course, who's been on with us a lot this year. Tom, good to see you as always, my man. An end to another NHL season for guys like us. You know, it's tough because we love hockey. It's a very long grind from October all the way to June, and we could probably use a little bit of a break. But it is always sad when the hockey season ends, Tom.
Of course, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed emotions, really. Like, we know how long the season is, day in and day out, but it is good to see the season end on, I want to say, a bit of a high note. It was a great series. We roll into the draft, free agency right after that. It's good to see that the cap is jumping up this year, which is obviously very important for a lot of teams. It's a massive jump. And then we'll move into the offseason, get some trades underway, get the free agency, and then training camp in September, roll into the season in October.
And, just finishing on Florida, Tom, your thoughts, because I thought, when you start to really look at the series as a whole, and it started back and forth, the split in Edmonton, the split in Florida, 2-2 going back for Game 5. It seemed like it was a very even series, but in reality, Tom, when you actually step back and look at the 6 games in whole, it really wasn't. With how much time Florida spent with a lead in the series, they scored 2 or more goals in every first period in all 6 games. I mean, it really wasn't that close despite going 6 games.
It wasn't overall with how, especially that time difference of like how much Florida was leading. And I remember I was here on the trade deadline day, and I remember talking about Florida saying like, I don't like them this year. And I didn't like them when it came to their odds. Like, I always believed that they had the capability to do it as a team, coaching, they had the experience, but I never was in favor of their odds. So that's what always held me back on them, because we were never going to be getting a great number. But what they did in the series proved, to me at least, like, I think that they are a dynasty. And we can have a debate about the definitions of what we're going to be defining as a dynasty, wherever it might be, but they took care of business from top to bottom, and I love the fact that they have essentially interchangeable pieces. Players moving up and down the lineup, on the power play, on the penalty kill, first line, third line, doesn't matter who they have. The biggest point of disparity in this series is the goaltending. If you have a team that has any amount of questions in goal, that is not a Stanley Cup caliber team, in my opinion. So let's just say Bobrovsky got lit up for 6 goals one game. It's like, listen, it happens. He's going to be out there the next game. We know that. That's not what we had with the Oilers. That's not what they've had for seasons, going back with Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen. They've never had an elite goalie. That is the biggest point that they need to fix.
It is the biggest point. And by the way, as you talk dynasty, I think it's got to be, and I know everyone's got their own definition of this. Like you said, this is probably like a 20-minute debate on its own. I think at minimum 3 in a row. I think you need for a dynasty. Now, maybe that's the Islander fan in me talking, because the Islanders won the 4 in a row, of course, in the early 80s. I think 3 in a row, 4 out of 5. Oilers did 4 out of 5 in the late 80s. Too. So I think that's kind of back-to-back and going 3 in a row is super impressive. But I think that Florida needs to win one more before the D word, the dynasty word, starts to get thrown around. Now, Edmonton is an interesting story, Tom, because you saw it, I saw it, most of the hockey world saw it. McDavid, in the exit interview with the Edmonton media on Thursday, kind of not exactly saying he's like 100% committed to his future in Edmonton. Now, he said he's got unfinished business there. He thinks the team's good enough to win. But, Tom, 1 year left on his deal. Has not signed an extension yet. They've given Draisaitl money. I don't think it's a question, Tom, of if Edmonton will pay him. I'm sure they're going to say whatever you want here. does he want to continue after one more year in Edmonton? I'm not so sure. And if he doesn't, Tom, and you don't get the commitment, if you're the Oilers, you got to start thinking about it. As much as they don't want to hear it, you got to think about what you can get for him.
It's true. And, it really comes down to, again, it's not the money. If he wants, again, with the cap jumping up, he wants 14, 15, they're going to offer him 16 or vice versa, whatever it might be. Like, deep down, McDavid will know probably by the start of next season. I guess we could say, like, deep down, he knows if he's going to sign an extension. And I would say this comes down to what moves they make in the offseason. Do they fix the holes that, he thinks they have? Do they make a change at goal, whatever it might be? Because if they're not willing to do that, he's going to know deep down, I'm going to leave after, the upcoming season, and or I need to tell them they're going to trade. They're going to say, like, oh, McDavid's, like, untradeable. Like, listen, Gretzky got traded. Like, it's not just the same franchise, but if that player can be traded, anyone can be traded. So I think that McDavid will know come October 1st when the season's ready to roll whether or not he's going to stay, and then it's whether or not he indicates that to the Oilers overall.
It's a very, very sticky situation. If you're because it is, like you said, you don't want to. Nobody wants to trade Connor McDavid. Nobody wants the best player in the game, but you also have to weigh that. Man, is he definitely coming back here? Has he given us an indication that? Tell you, listening to him with that little pause yesterday, saying what, gotta think what's best for me and my family. That's scary.
Here's the question. Let's say he doesn't indicate at the beginning of the season. I'm thinking, let's say we get to, start of the new year, January 1st. They're sitting in first place. Things are cruising. Like, he's going to, we're in first place. We're not talking about it. We'll deal with that when it comes. And then, they crash out in the, the playoffs. And then it's like, okay, we didn't take care of it because McDavid said, let's focus on the season. And now the season's over. And now we don't have an indication either way. Like, that is what I could see happening.
Look, I know that this is probably too fast of a timeline, but it's kind of a situation that if I'm the Oilers, like, I kind of want it decided by, like, July 1st. Like, I want it decided in the next couple weeks, like, because when the most value for trading someone is. It's for an entire season and going into, free agency, the draft, things like that. Man, I'd hate to be those guys right now running the Oilers, that's for sure. Now, as of right now, we always love looking at who's going to win the Cup 12 months from now, Tom. But they give you the numbers, and you got to look at it. And when you look at futures like this, I think for any sport, it's challenging because there's two ways to look at it, I think. On one hand, you have a chance to maybe get some really great value on a team 12 months out. On the other hand, look at the Oilers, for example, who are, they're near the top. They're plus 750 on. I can't believe the books still put Carolina as a favorite. Edmonton at plus 750. They lose McDavid, and suddenly Edmonton is 40-1 to win the Cup next year. So it's hard to gauge so far out, Tom.
It really is. I remember this time last year, on July 1st of last year, there was rumors circulating that the Preds were going to get Stamkos and Marchessault and Brady Shea. And I jumped on the Preds at 30-1. And before the date was closed, they were down to 20-1 because of the signings. And then by the time the season rolled around, I think they were like 17-ish to 1, depending on which book you look, 17, 18, 19. And then I was like, listen, they're 17-1. I have a ticket at 30-1. This is awesome. I'm in a great spot with the Preds. And we all know how that went. The season was over by December 1st for them. So taking long shots is tough. I kind of like Minnesota. We can get into this maybe after the break. But they had $14 million of dead cap space with the Parisi and Suter contracts. Those are essentially coming off the books. Those dropped down to about $800K this year, plus the jump in cap. They have the young core pieces. I like Gustafsson and net. I like the odds, obviously. I'm not saying I'm going to jump in right now, but they're a team to keep an eye on.
They certainly are. Tom Vecchio, tremendous stuff. And listen, we got a couple more weeks here where, yes, we are going to start to look at all this stuff. I ripped up the Nashville ticket too, Tom. We're back. NHL Today right after this.
Here we go at Oakmont. Let's start with the course. What do we know about this course? How long is the rough, and does course history come into effect for you this week?
The U.S. Open has always been billed as the most difficult test of golf there is on the planet. And I tell you what, it's often labeled as the most difficult golf course in the world is Oakmont.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
We don't want you playing here. Can you move positions? Do something else. He starts the season like 0 for 150, it felt like, and finally finds himself in a groove at the plate, hitting 272. 15 home runs on the season? Now he's shipped to San Francisco.
What is management going to do? Nobody who's paying you $313.5 million is going to hear anything from you. They'll figure out a way to get rid of you, and that's exactly what they did.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say, yeah, I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back. NHL Today, right here on SportsGrid. Mike Carver here with you. Our weekly look around the National Hockey League, of course, season wrap-up. And we already start to turn the page to next year, off-season. Things are already cooking. Tom Vecchio is with us as we go over a few of these things. We got a little cut off, Tom, and I was with you. I tore up all those Nashville tickets as well last year. Everybody got excited. Look at what the Preds are doing. Stamkos, Marchessault, are you kidding me? And what they finished last in the division, Tom? I mean, they had, and so that's the risk you're taking here. You're trying to look at these boards before, like right now, it's like you're trying to do this before you even know what's going to happen. There are so many moves that can made. Things can shift. Teams can make some huge deal we're not thinking about at the draft next Friday. And all those numbers will move. So it's a very, it's a keen game, Tom, that you got to look at that board and go, all right, I think this team, you try to read rumors, but at the end of the day, you got no idea what's going to happen with this offseason and who's going to sign who. Where's Marner going to go? Like, if you could tell me right now, Tom, who's signing Mitch Marner, well, let me look down the board of all these teams that are apparently interested in him. Oh, wow, Utah's odds, this team's odds, that team's odds. And you try to make a pick or throw a dart as to who's going to get Marner because their odds are going to go completely in another way.
Right, and it depends on, what your propensity for risk is. Obviously, with any futures, I always say do this at a much lower unit or smaller unit size just because you want to keep that money tied up for, at this point, literally 12 months or whatever it might be. But, there are only so many teams that can sign a player like Mitch Marner just due to his salary projected contract. So you kind of narrow down the list, and obviously comes to what draft capital they have or a team does have to trade. So, like I said, I like Minnesota just because of their potential cap space, but ultimately they would need to put that cap space into use in order to realize like the best potential for that lineup. And that's not always the case.
It's not. And this is the last thing we'll do on this because we're obviously going to have a lot of time over the next few weeks with that board moving off of moves that get made. But I still cannot believe that there are books like the one that we just showed that have the Carolina Hurricanes once again as a favorite. Now the rumors are that they're going to take a huge swing at Marner as well. So there's talk that Carolina is going, and honestly, I think that would be a great spot for him because after being in Toronto, he probably needs somewhere where he can go in the witness protection program and just not have any media bothering him for a long time and just play hockey. It would probably be a good thing for Mitch, but I don't think he's going to sign there, and I can't believe even if they do that they're favorites again.
Yeah, I've always talked about Carolina, and the thing that I've always said about them is like they're a really good team, like they are, but they may not be a great team. And until they can prove that they can beat the Panthers, like that's always going to be an issue for me. And even like you could say, my Rangers, I don't want to be too biased, but like the Canes have also struggled to get past the Rangers. So if the Rangers do retool in the offseason and bounce back, that's just another team in front of them. So they have to get past the Rangers, and they have to get past the Panthers, and they have to get past, maybe a resurgent Bruins team or still Tampa. So there's too many roadblocks in front of them for me to have them as a favorite. Now, listen, if you offer me the Canes at 17-1, I could talk myself into that, but not at 7-1.
No, definitely not. I'm with you on that. The draft is next Friday night. So we'll have NHL Today is going to roll the next couple of weeks here as well, and we'll have your show before the draft. Now, betting on the draft is hard. Like, Tom, we bet on the NFL draft, the NBA draft. You know the names because you watch the guys play in college. It's a little harder unless you're a real hardcore NHL draftee to know who a lot of these kids are. You usually know who's going to be the first pick and maybe the second, but it gets very difficult after that. Do you ever dabble in betting on the NHL draft, Tom?
So I can't in Connecticut, but like tomorrow, for example, on Saturday, I'll be going down to the studio in Jersey so I can place bets when I'm in Jersey. And so it's just like a state thing, wherever I happen to be. If I can't do it, I can do it, whatever it might be. This year, I think it's pretty simple at the top. We know it's going to be Schaefer 1, almost certainly Misa 2. After that, like the James Hagens rumors to go into the Islanders because he's from Long Island. Some of these players you may have never heard of. Obviously, Hagens was on BC. He was on Team USA that won World Juniors. So like there is some familiarity if you are like you said, a hardcore hockey fan, knowing some of these players. But it's also the thing that like Schaefer is going to get drafted. He's not going to play this year. He's only 17 still. Doesn't turn 18 until September. And then he's not going to play this year. He's not going to play until next year. So it's not the same with the NFL. It's like, listen, he gets drafted 1 or 2. They're absolutely starting. That's why we got them. Some of these players don't play for 2 or 3 years. So there's a bit of a disconnect, and betting on the draft can be a bit of a long shot. But if you're a fan, you know who you want a team to take or you know their needs, go for it. But again, smaller unit, be safe with it.
Well, I know that there's still some books that are offering a defenseman to be the first pick at like minus 1900. Like they're taking him first. So go ahead if you like loading up that high. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. I'm pretty sure of it. Although crazy things happen, Tom. Remember that NBA draft a few years ago where it was lock, stock, and barrel. I forget who was, and then Banchero ended up being the first pick, and the boards went nuts for like 24 hours before the draft. So that's why it's a very interesting market to go and draft on. But the Islanders have a big part of it. They have the Long Island kid that's there as well, and there's already talk that they're going to try to get back up and maybe take a second pick. There's lots of talk about the Bruins being super active. So lots of teams, Tom, to keep your eye on over the next week or two, and then you get to July 1st, and it really all starts to take shape after that. But until the McDavid stuff is settled, it might be hard for other things, because if there are teams that think that maybe there's a shot that he's going to be available, that might put some other things on hold.
That's true. Obviously the McDavid press conference yesterday, as we alluded to, he is a free agent after the upcoming season. It's not on this July 1st. It'll be, 12 months from now, essentially. I assume, again, the Oilers want to know going into the season whether or not he's going to re-sign or not. And again, for me, it comes down to what moves do they make in the offseason. They just extended Trent Frederick for 8 years for $4 million. Like, what are we doing here? Like, that is an objectively horrible contract. You want to give him 3 years, 4 years at $3 or $4 million, sure, get him signed. But he's a depth forward at best. You sign Draisaitl. Does McDavid want to stay there? We know we get from Hyman. We know we get from Nugent-Hopkins. They need to fix the defense. They need to fix the goaltending. So yes, the league may seemingly be on hold over the next year until we get the McDavid news. Because if he's not going to stay, every team is going to try and save the money to take a shot on him.
And you will see, Tom. You talk about crazy contracts. This is that time of year. Just get ready, July 1st, because you will see some doozies get thrown around all over the place. Somebody's probably going to give Ekblad some stupid money to leave Florida, too. Tom Vecchio, tremendous job as always. NHL Today here on the Grid. We're back right after.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis, because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Astros right now have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West, because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make the case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back. NHL Today here on SportsGrid, our weekly look around the National Hockey League. Mike Carver here with you. Before we get out of here, of course, next Friday will be the NHL Draft. And thanks to the great lottery system in the NHL, which I now love, the New York Islanders will have the top selection next Friday night. Maybe they'll even have another one, if you believe some rumors, in the top 5 or 10. We shall see. But we got to get George Kurtz in here. Now, we could have probably did a whole nother 25-minute episode with me, George, and Tom debating what a dynasty is. And I don't want to get George too far off the tangent because that could take up all of the time that we have in this segment. But George agrees with me. Let's just keep it simple, George. You agree with me. It's got to be minimum 3 in a row before you could start saying dynasty, right? 3 in a row.
They have a term for winning 2 in a row. It's called back-to-back. Okay, Dynasty's at least 3 in a row. I think the biggest argument there be, is it 3 in a row, 3 in 4 years, 3 in 5? How many years do you have to win that 3? I think the Panthers have 3 years to win another one.
3 years to win another one, and there you go. And look, they've gone 3 in a row, so they got to win. You win 3 in a row. I also said 4 out of 5, George, like the Oilers did after the Islanders.
Oh, that's fantastic.
4 out of 5 is also, I would consider, a dynasty. No question about that when you do that much winning. All right. Let's get to next Friday. NHL Draft Round 1. The Islanders are now on the clock now that the season's over and the Panthers have hoisted the cup. Now, me and you have discussed this already, George, about what they should do. I understand taking Schaefer with the first overall pick. I'm kind of surprised that, at least from even an odds makers and a books perspective, that it's already just a done deal. It's over. Books have taken it off the board, George. You can't even bet anymore that he's going to be the first pick in the draft. You can't bet that Misa's going to be the second pick in the draft. I mean, shut it down, George. Get your Schaefer jerseys ready, I guess, for next Friday, right?
Yeah, and I guess, listen, that's the way most people in the NHL do feel it's going to go here, and I understand that, but let's not forget Schaefer didn't play all that much last year. Got hurt. So I don't think anybody in the NHL truly knows, is he going to be the next, Rasmus Dahlin? Is he going to be next Cale Makar? What kind of player is he going to be? You think he's going to be that way, but you can't know for sure. That being said, from everything we've heard from the Islanders, from everyone, yeah, it would be an upset if it wasn't Schaefer going 1. I still think the Islanders might trade down if they get someone to get a little interested in it, because I think they would like to get more picks here or prospects. They're not one player away. What Tom said last segment was so true here. I don't know if Schaefer's going to play next year, and maybe in 2 years. Defensemen take a long time in the NHL to develop. All right, so he's not so much going to turn around this organization in 1 year. Oh, Islanders are a playoff team next year. Not quite going to be that way. And I know fans want some offense here, and passing on Misa would be tough. It really would, because that guy could add instant offense.
See, that's the thing for me, George. Like, we have spent so much time over the last 25 years watching these Islander teams that, like, I watch a guy like Misa, and I see, and I'm no draft guru, believe me. We don't watch. It's not like NBA and NFL where we see these kids a lot in college and we know who the top players are. But, man, I put the Misa tape on, George, and I'm like, the Islanders haven't had a player like this in forever. So explosive offensively. I get taking the sturdy defenseman, and he can skate like the wind and all that, but it just it makes you scratch your head, George, that you want to get some offense. But maybe they trade back up for another, because this Higgins kid, who's from Long Island, understands the deal. He's number's 4.5 right now, which a year ago, George, at this time, he was the number 1 overall pick. And now might not even go in the top 5. If he's still sitting there at 5, George, I'd find a way to maybe get myself back involved.
Yeah, as you already mentioned, there's a lot of noise with Boston. Boston's at 7, though, and I don't think Higgins falls that far. So if the Islanders want to get him, I think it gets more and more interesting as what you're sort of insinuating here. The deeper he falls in the draft. He didn't go 3. He didn't go 4. What can the Islanders do here? Mike, you and I, we discussed this on Carver at least many times here. The Islanders had a lot of players they could trade at the deadline that, for whatever reason, Lou didn't deal. Palmieri, Pajot seems to be the big name that's going on here. They've got other defensemen here. They might be able to work out a deal here where they can get someone. I just don't know if we had 5 for Higgins. I don't think it'll be Higgins, but I think they will trade back in.
Yeah, I see him. He's the favorite to be the 5th pick right there on the board. But the draft is still a week out. And obviously, there's still a lot to be done before then, George, for it. And I think we'll have to next week. Hopefully, they've made a trade by next Friday afternoon so that we can have George come back and let us know if he thinks they're going to take Higgins as well. George, tremendous job, as always. We'll see you next week before the draft. And, of course, we've got a couple weeks left to go here. NHL Today on SportsGrid. Mike Carver here with you. We'll see you next week here on the Grid.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis, because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
The Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, who had such a good training camp last year, and it looked like he was pretty good, I believe, in the preseason, if I'm not mistaken, ended up going down for the full year. The Vikings are still obviously committed to him.
They knew that McCarthy was going to be available at some point in June. And McCarthy actually went on record last week and confirmed 2 weeks ago he was cleared medically. He did work last week. And he's going to be their starter.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I'm with you in that you're going to have to take calculated risks. And that's what Leon Rose has been about since he's been here. And he's been measured. He hasn't been gung-ho in terms of mortgaging this franchise's future for immediate gains. They have had a prudent approach, and you're going to have to roll the dice in certain respects to get to that top level. And you're right, Donnie, when you look at next season, all things considered, you hope that they're healthy, and if they roll over, say, 85 to 90% of this roster, this is a top 3 team in the East. With Boston coming down, Milwaukee is going to come down, and so you have to figure it's going to be Indiana, the Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers in some sort of order in the preseason rankings. And so where they go from here, Jason Kidd is obviously the hot name right now. Things that both sides are interested from what we've heard in terms of Kidd and the New York Knicks. Is he that championship caliber coach to take the Knicks there?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.